Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I wanted to do a quick video on something very creepy that I kind of wanted to get everybody's thoughts on, and that is the weird glass eye thing with Jeffrey Epstein and Jimmy Savile. For people who don't know, obviously Jeffrey Epstein and Jimmy Savile are two well-known, notorious, high-end elite predators, child sex predators, and etc. Both involved in massive scandals tied to the elites and intelligence. So Jimmy Savile wore the glass eye of one of his victims, notoriously, and Jeffrey Epstein was known for having a bizarre collection of glass eyes on display in one of his mansions. And so I wanted to talk about the glass eyes. This is an image here of the outside of Jeffrey Epstein's New York townhouse. And the description of the inside is coming from a Vanity Fair journalist, Vicky Ward, who published an article in 2003 called The Talented Mr. Epstein, in which he kind of does a profile on Jeffrey Epstein. And this is part of it. It says, framed eyeballs. In 2003, Jeffrey Epstein allowed a reporter from Vanity Fair to visit the home. Reporter Vicky Ward described the interior as a, quote, high-walled, eclectic, imperious fantasy that seems to have no boundaries, unquote. The entrance hallway, as noted by Ward, featured, quote, row upon row of individually framed eyeballs. Epstein reportedly told Ward they were made for injured soldiers and imported from England. Now, before I go any further into this, I do want to make a quick mention that I know a lot of researchers that have covered the Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell case take issue with Vicky Ward and her background. She is, of course, a mainstream media journalist, and there are questions about the nature of her relationship with Ghislaine Maxwell. There's pictures of them where they look very friendly. And there's, from what I understand, there were allegations thrown around about Vicky Ward as potentially kind of running in these circles that she's supposed to be kind of covering critically. So I just wanted to put that in there, but she's not the only person who has seen and described the eyeballs in Jeffrey Epstein's home. This comes from an article from Counterpunch. And by the way, the image there is just something that I had AI generated, just putting in, kind of the description of what Vicky Ward described of this kind of row upon row of individually framed glass eyes. AI image generators aren't perfect, obviously, so these ones aren't individually framed, but I think it can help you kind of visualize what something like that in his home might have looked like, and you can imagine kind of like if you're one of these weirdos that is being invited into Jeffrey Epstein's home and you're coming in, you're greeted with this looking at you, but they would have been individually framed. And this is on the side here is from a 2019 article from Counterpunch entitled Jeffrey Epstein's Eyes. And it says, quote, Jeffrey Epstein had a collection of eyeballs on his wall. They were originally made for injured soldiers, we're told, which presumably means they were artificial. Each was individually framed and mounted in his entranceway. So the entranceway to the home. We're not told whether any soldiers had the chance to use them first. The eyeballs make sense because Epstein was a watcher. He watched the young girls whose lives he shattered. His depravity was a deeply visual nature. His young victims tended to be thin, athletic, and blonde, white in skin, and easily imagined in white tennis outfits. So this article here that we're looking at comes from Counterpunch, Jeffrey Epstein's Eyes, talking about kind of how he was very visual. His depravity was of a deeply visual nature, and the women that he targeted kind of fit, as it says, the cultural's visual ideas of innocence and purity, something that he liked to repeatedly defile. It says Epstein was a watcher, but he wasn't the only one. And the article also talks about ritual enactments of degradation of these women, forcing them to perform for him. He was a collector, avid collector. He collected images with a carefully curated library of CD-ROMs showing the girls in various states of submission to male desire. There were, quote, hundreds, if not thousands, of such images, we are told. Did other men appear in these pictures? No one knows. Do we know if he collected names? We believe he did. There's reports of notebooks with lists of powerful men and their preferences. People referred to and spoke of Epstein's little black book. So again, this was written in an article written in 2019 before a lot of stuff on Epstein came out and was confirmed, but indeed that is true. This is coming from The Sun. Spy creep Jeffrey Epstein had 150 creepy eyeballs on wall in pedo mansion and warned guests, "You're being watched at all times," which obviously was actually true. So I don't know if he was telling them that and just kind of like making a joke of it. I don't think that they knew they were being filmed, but they were obviously being filmed, everybody that was at his estates. And then this image here is, again, just another image I had AI generated of sort of like an entranceway, an archway, very opulent, and with these artificial glass eyes like mounted into the entranceway. Could you imagine going into a place like this and seeing something like that? That has to be so creepy. And again, you know that this weirdo had cameras in these eyes. Like I could guarantee it. Like I would bet on that. Then the human chessboard. Here's another thing. And I had this image also AI generated. He had a human chessboard. According to one visitor who spoke to the Times, there's a chessboard at the bottom of the staircase that is hair-raising in its commitment to creeping people out. Each of its customized figurines is modeled after one of his staffers and is quote-unquote dressed suggestively. Wow. And then moving on to the freak Jimmy Savile. Glass eyes stolen from corpse by Savile, who made it into a necklace. He had it as a ring also for a while. Was sold at a charity auction. He also wore it on the final Top of the Pops, where he also did something inappropriate to a child. And, you know, he was allowed to get away with this. He was protected, and that's what makes me very angry. Now, this is an actual image of the inside of one of the rooms in Jeffrey Epstein's New York mansion. You can get an idea for the opulence, the extravagant nature of it, and just kind of the weird art and furnishings that he had. There's also this little excerpt from one of these articles. Epstein claimed to be bankrolling research efforts into some sort of stalker particle. The Times wrote, quote, "Mr. Epstein was willing to finance research that others viewed as bizarre. He told one scientist he was bankrolling efforts to identify a mysterious particle that might trigger the feeling that someone is watching you." Why would he be interested in funding something like that, research into that? It's very strange, but, it reminded me of J.F. Gariepy, who we just did a video on not long ago, whose wife, Mama J.F., is currently missing. So for people who don't know, J.F. was funded by Jeffrey Epstein to the tune of something like $25,000 when he was first starting out. When his channel was a neuroscience, quote unquote, YouTube channel, he received funding from Jeffrey Epstein, and he requested more money from Jeffrey Epstein. I think it was right before his second arrest in 2019, but I don't think he got the money. But that's very telling, isn't it? Oh, sorry. I just got a call. I apologize. But continuing on, these are just two more images here, graphics I had generated. It's the mantelpiece with glass eyes. So you can imagine, I've heard that he had a very unique mantelpiece that also may have had some of these glass eyes on it. So you could imagine maybe something like this. if you know, were in his home having to see something like that, that'd be so creepy. And this is another image I had AI generated of this kind of human chessboard, you know, and this is an actual picture from his New York home from the government exhibits of his case. And you can see again, you know, the kind of extravagance of it and what it looked like. And you could imagine what the chessboard, the human chessboard, might have looked like. But remember that it had the chess pieces were designed for modeled after his female staffers, and they were dressed quote unquote provocatively. Now I want to bring up real quick, this is from Vigilant Citizen talking about like the occult symbolism with eyes, and like the one eye symbolism is everywhere. I know you guys know what that means. Like they call it the eye, all-seeing eye, or the eye of Horus, the eye of Providence. I am not that educated on it. Like I don't really know everything about it, but this talks about how, you know, this all-seeing eye symbolism is everywhere in music videos, magazine covers, movie posters. It's in advertisements. It's in pop culture, right? You see these people doing the one eye symbolism all the time. So this goes into the what does it mean and talking about some of the symbolism here. And this says, quote, "The human eye has been used as a symbol since the dawn of civilization. It can be found across all ages and cultures. Jung identified the eye as a classic, quote unquote, archetypal symbol, an image that is embedded in humanity's collective unconscious. According to his theory, humans instinctively respond to archetypal symbols and unconsciously assign to them a specific meaning. Quote, eyes are probably the most important symbolic sensory organ. They can represent clairvoyance, omniscience, and or a gateway into the soul. Other qualities that eyes are commonly associated with are intelligence, light, vigilance, moral conscience, and truth. Looking someone in the eye is seen as a Western custom of honesty. In this way, covering of the eyes or covering one eye or wearing sunglasses, etc., can mean mystery, not seeing the complete truth, or deceit. The eye often means judgment and authority as well. So I thought that was kind of an interesting thing. It also says in nearly all cultures, the symbol of the eye is associated with spiritual concepts such as divinity, eye of providence, spiritual illumination, the third eye, or magic, the evil eye. So I thought that was like really weird and really creepy that both of these predators, elite child sex predators, traffickers, people who were friends with the elites in royalty, they had the same associates and were involved in the same kinds of activities, also had this weird glass eye thing. And I wonder if anybody has any more information on this, or if you guys know what this could mean, like beyond like what we've talked about. Like, is there a greater significance to this? I just thought it was interesting and I wanted to share that with you. So that's it. That's all for now. Bye.